The cold, empty void of space stretched endlessly in every direction. The small spaceship, Vanguard, drifted silently among the stars. Inside, the crew went about their work, unaware that they were about to stumble upon something that would change the course of their mission, and possibly the fate of humanity itself. Captain Alara Hart sat in the command seat, her eyes focused on the holographic display in front of her. The stars outside were flickering by, but something caught her attention. A faint signal. It wasn't strong, but it was there, hidden between the natural radiation from distant stars. Alara raised an eyebrow and leaned forward. "Lieutenant, what's that?" she asked, her voice low but sharp. Lieutenant Vance, the communications officer, quickly tapped at the console in front of him. "I'm not sure, Captain. It's faint, almost like a distress signal. But it's too weak to pinpoint the exact source." Alara frowned, her curiosity piqued. "Can you get a better reading on it?" Vance worked quickly, adjusting the ship's sensors. The signal grew stronger, but it wasn't just a distress beacon. It was coming from something huge. "It's coming from a vessel, Captain. A massive one." The captain stood up from her seat, her heart beginning to race. A vessel this far out in space was not supposed to be here. No one had reported any ships missing. The Vanguard was deep in an unexplored section of the galaxy. There were no known hostile factions in this area. Everything about this discovery felt wrong. "Plot a course to the source of the signal, Lieutenant," Alara ordered. "And make it fast." The Vanguard adjusted its course, moving toward the unknown vessel. The crew could feel the change in direction as the ship's engines hummed louder, cutting through the dark emptiness of space. The quiet murmurs of the crew grew louder as they began to wonder what they would find. It wasn't long before the massive shape appeared on their sensors, a ship, unlike anything they had ever seen before. The ship was enormous, far larger than anything the humans had built. Its shape was unlike any known design, sharp and angular with strange, glowing symbols etched across its surface. The signals it emitted were not like any human-made technology. It's not human," Vance whispered, barely able to believe his own words. Alara stood at the front of the command deck, staring at the ship's image on the screen. "Prepare a boarding party. We need to see what we're dealing with." A feeling of dread settled over the crew as the Vanguard approached the unknown vessel. It was silent, eerily still, with no signs of movement. The vessel floated in space, abandoned but somehow still alive, its technology pulsing faintly, as if the ship itself was breathing. Alara couldn't shake the uneasy feeling gnawing at her. Something didn't sit right about this. Why was this massive ship just floating in the middle of nowhere, seemingly abandoned? And why had it sent a distress signal? The Vanguard docked with the unknown vessel, and the crew moved to board. Alara led the way, her hand resting on the sidearm at her hip. The airlock opened with a soft hiss, and they stepped into the darkness of the alien ship. The ship's interior was cold, far colder than it should have been. It was as if the air had been frozen in time. Every step the crew took echoed throughout the enormous, empty halls. The walls were covered in strange, glowing symbols that none of them could recognize. The atmosphere was thick with a sense of ancient history, as if this ship had been drifting for centuries, waiting for someone to find it. "Captain," whispered Lieutenant Vance, "I think I'm picking up something. A faint power signature. It's coming from deeper inside the ship." Alara nodded, signaling to the crew to proceed cautiously. The further they ventured, the more unsettling the silence became. It was as if the ship was waiting for them, or perhaps it was watching them. The crew reached a large chamber, the source of the power signature. The room was filled with strange technology, glowing with an otherworldly energy. At the center of the room stood an enormous control panel, with more symbols etched into it, pulsing softly. Alara walked up to the console, hesitating for only a moment before pressing a button. The screen flickered to life, revealing a map of the galaxy. But what caught her attention wasn't the map. It was a message that flashed across the screen, written in a language she couldn't understand. A cold shiver ran down her spine. The message wasn't meant for them. It was a warning. But a warning from whom? And why had they been led to this ship? As the crew tried to make sense of the message, the ship's systems suddenly hummed louder, and the lights flickered. Something was happening. Something was waking up. Ilara's heart raced. She knew one thing for sure, they were no longer alone in this empty part of space. Something had been waiting for them. The air in the darkened chamber was thick with tension. As the crew of the Vanguard stood before the alien console, Ilara couldn't shake the feeling that they had walked into a trap. The ship had remained dormant for so long, why would it suddenly awaken now? A slow realization began to creep in, gnawing at her thoughts. This wasn't just an accidental find. It felt deliberate, like the vessel had been waiting for them. The crew exchanged uneasy glances, their minds racing. Ilara gave a sharp command. Vance, try to decipher that message. Lieutenant Vance nodded and moved to the control panel. His fingers flew over the console's interface, trying to unlock its secrets. The symbols on the screen flickered and shifted, as if alive, responding to his touch. Finally, the screen settled on a strange sequence of words that still didn't make sense. But there was one thing that caught their attention, a series of coordinates, scattered across the galaxy. Ilara stepped forward, her curiosity piqued. What does it mean? Vance wiped his brow, frustration evident on his face. I don't know, Captain. But these coordinates lead to some of the most dangerous areas in the galaxy, and there's something else. He paused, his eyes wide with realization. The map, it shows places where humanity fought battles, and won. Ilara felt a cold shiver run down her spine. Fought battles? What do you mean? Vance gestured to the map, showing different points of conflict. This vessel, this ship, was part of a species that waged war against humanity long ago. These points on the map are all the places where humanity fought them and defeated them. The silence in the room was deafening. Ilara's mind raced. Humanity had fought an alien species and won. That seemed impossible. They had never been in any war that would leave such a mark, not on this scale. She stared at the map, now fully understanding the scope of the conflict that had been hidden from humanity's history. But as she examined the map closer, another thought crept into her mind. The alien vessel seemed ancient, but the message on the screen felt fresh. Something wasn't adding up. Could this vessel be from that same war? Ilara asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Vance hesitated. I don't know, Captain. But it's clear that humanity's victory wasn't as simple as we thought. There's something more to this. Just then, the lights in the chamber flickered and dimmed, casting the walls in a haunting, sickly glow. The air seemed to grow colder, and a low, vibrating hum filled the room. The crew exchanged wary looks, instinctively reaching for their weapons. It's waking up, Lieutenant Kira said, her voice tense. Ilara's hand instinctively gripped the sidearm at her hip. What do you mean? Kira's eyes scanned the room, her posture rigid. I've been monitoring the ship's systems. It's coming online, Captain. Whatever this ship is, it's no ordinary vessel. It's alive in some way. The technology, the energy, everything about it is foreign, even to our best scientists. A sudden blast of static erupted from the console, followed by a deep, guttural voice that echoed throughout the chamber. The crew froze, eyes wide in shock. The voice was in a language none of them could understand. The screen shifted again, and this time, a dark, alien face appeared. Its features were sharp and angular, its eyes glowing with an eerie light. The crew took an instinctive step back. The creature spoke again, this time in a language that was surprisingly clear. Humanity, you thought you had won. The word sent a chill through the entire crew. Ilara stepped forward, her heart pounding. What are you saying? We did win. The alien face on the screen seemed to smile, but it wasn't a smile of warmth. It was cold, calculating, almost mocking. You defeated my people once. But we were never truly gone. We were only waiting. Ilara's breath caught in her throat. Waiting for what? The voice responded, its tone growing colder, more dangerous. For the right time. And now, that time has come. The chamber was silent again, the words hanging in the air like a threat. Ilara could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on her. Humanity had won once, there was no question about it. But the idea that they had merely pushed back the enemy, not destroyed it, was a sobering thought. We need to get back to the vanguard, Ilara said, her voice firm, trying to steady the nerves of her crew. Prepare for anything. The crew quickly moved out of the chamber, but as they stepped through the airlock and back onto their ship, the unease only grew. The alien vessel floated outside, silent and ominous. The coordinates it had sent were still embedded in their minds, and Ilara couldn't shake the feeling that they had only uncovered the tip of the iceberg. As the crew settled back into the vanguard, the gravity of the situation became undeniable. If humanity had only pushed the aliens back and never truly defeated them, the war that had been fought so many years ago might have only been the beginning. The vanguard floated in the shadow of the massive alien vessel, the eerie glow from its surface casting long, stretching shadows across the hull of the ship. Inside the crew was tense, every minute feeling like an hour. The message they had received, disturbing in its implications, had only deepened the mystery. Humanity had won, but at what cost? And why did this alien ship, abandoned for so long, seem so intent on drawing them in? Captain Ilara Hart sat at the command console, staring at the coordinates still flashing on the screen in front of her. The map of the galaxy seemed to mock her, showing places where battles had been fought, places that were supposed to have been part of the past. But the question remained, why had the ship chosen now to reveal itself? And why had it left behind a trail for humanity to follow? We need to know more, Ilara said firmly, breaking the silence that had filled the bridge. Vance, run another analysis on the message we received. I don't care if we have to decode every symbol, we need to understand what we're dealing with. Lieutenant Vance quickly set to work. His fingers flew across the console, scanning through layers of ancient data. The symbols on the screen flickered and shifted again, resisting his attempts to decipher them. The language was unfamiliar, alien in every sense. Yet, somehow, it seemed to communicate something far more powerful than simple words. It was like a warning, an invitation, and a threat, all at once. I'm seeing a pattern, Vance said, his voice tight with concentration. These coordinates, they're not just random locations. They're the remnants of ancient battlefields. Places where humanity fought and pushed the alien forces back. But there's something else, he paused, as if trying to process what he was reading. There's a reference here to a reawakening, a final push, as they call it. A chill ran through the room. A final push. Ilara repeated, her mind racing. For what? Vance's fingers trembled slightly as he read more. I'm not sure, Captain. But the message seems to imply that whatever force they encountered, that's us, humanity, was never meant to win. The aliens thought they had found the perfect way to conquer us. And they failed. But now, they've found something, something they were waiting for. Something that can turn the tide. What exactly are they waiting for? Ilara asked, her voice strained. Before Vance could answer, the alien ship emitted a low, rumbling hum, a sound so deep it seemed to resonate in their bones. The hum vibrated through the vanguard, and the entire crew stiffened. Ilara's grip tightened on the arm of her seat. The alien vessel seemed to be waking up, just as they had feared. Something ancient, something dangerous, was stirring inside that ship. Everyone, brace yourselves. Ilara shouted. Get ready for anything. The bridge was instantly filled with the sound of rushing footsteps as the crew scrambled to their stations. The tension in the air was thick, almost suffocating. Ilara's heart pounded in her chest as she watched the alien vessel on the screen. It was massive, too large for any of them to comprehend. And yet, there it was, like a sleeping giant stirring after centuries of silence. "Captain!" Vance called out. "I'm seeing something. It's activating systems we thought were long dead. There's power surging through the ship. He paused, his eyes wide with shock. "It's opening." On the screen, massive doors in the side of the alien ship began to slowly slide open, revealing a strange, flickering light deep within the vessel's interior. The light pulsed rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat. And as the doors parted, the Vanguard sensors detected something else: movement. Hundreds of smaller craft began to emerge, scattered throughout the vast expanse of space, surrounding the massive vessel. "Are those ships?" Lieutenant Kira asked, her voice full of disbelief. "They're not human," Vance replied, his voice shaking. "They're alien. I've never seen anything like this before. It's an entire fleet." Ilara's mind raced. This was not just a single ship. This was an invasion, a massive, coordinated force. The final push that Vance had mentioned was no metaphor. The aliens were preparing to finish what they had started. And they weren't coming alone. The cold truth hit Ilara like a punch to the gut. Humanity had thought it had won, but in reality, it had merely survived. Now, a new war was on the horizon. And this time, the stakes were much higher. "We need to leave, now," Ilara ordered, snapping into action. "We can't face that fleet head-on. Prepare for evasive maneuvers." The crew scrambled to respond, but just as they began to engage the Vanguard's engines, a sudden, sharp signal cut through their communications systems, louder than any they had heard before. The alien fleet was communicating. And this time, the words were clear. "Humanity's victory was never ours to take. You are too late." Ilara's heart sank. This was no longer just a mission. It was survival. She turned to Vance. "Get us out of here. Fast. And send a distress signal to Earth. We need reinforcements, now." As the Vanguard tore through the void, the alien fleet followed, closing in. The battle for humanity's future had begun. And for the first time in their history, the crew of the Vanguard realized they were facing an enemy unlike any they had ever imagined. The Vanguard streaked through the dark, empty expanse of space, its engines roaring to life as they desperately fled from the advancing alien fleet. Captain Ilara Hart gripped the armrests of her chair, her knuckles white. Every bone in her body screamed that this wasn't just an ordinary escape. It was a race against time, against forces far more powerful than anything humanity had ever faced before. "Status report, Lieutenant." Ilara barked, her voice edged with urgency. Vance's fingers flew over his console. "We've engaged full speed, Captain. But the alien ships are moving fast. They're not just following us, they're coordinating. It's like they've been preparing for this for centuries." Kira, standing near the rear of the bridge, spoke up, her face pale. "We're outgunned, Captain. Their fleet is massive. Even with all our firepower, we don't stand a chance against that many ships. We need a plan." Ilara turned in her seat to face her crew, her mind racing. They had thought they had time, but now they were fighting a war that they had no business fighting. Their knowledge of the enemy was limited. The alien vessel they had found was not just a ship, it was the heart of an ancient empire, one that had been in hiding, waiting for humanity to grow complacent. But what was worse, humanity's victory over them was an illusion. The aliens had simply gone into hiding, preparing for the day they would return, and that day had arrived. "We need to find a way to slow them down," Ilara said, her mind turning through possibilities. "We need to know more about their ship. What can you tell me about the alien vessel we boarded?" Vance's face remained tight with concentration as he examined the data. "The ship itself is unlike anything we've ever seen. I've been analyzing its energy readings. There's something about its core systems. They're advanced. So advanced that it seems like it's drawing energy from some unknown source. The systems are reactivating in a way that suggests it's alive. It's not just a ship, it's a machine built with some kind of organic material, almost like it has its own heartbeat. Ilara's eyes narrowed. It's alive. It's the only explanation that makes sense, Vance replied, his voice barely above a whisper. I think it's been dormant for so long that the systems have fused with the ship's core. Whatever this vessel is, it's been waiting for something. Something to awaken it. Kira spoke up, her voice full of concern. And now that it's awake, it's controlling the fleet, isn't it? Ilara nodded grimly. Exactly. The fleet is linked to the ship in ways we don't understand yet, but the ship is acting like a central command. The fleet isn't just a random collection of ships, they're all part of a larger, coordinated effort to annihilate humanity. A voice crackled through the ship's communication system. It was faint, distant, but unmistakable. Humanity has failed. Prepare for extinction. It wasn't the alien fleet speaking this time, but something even more unsettling. It was coming from the alien ship. A voice so cold, so emotionless, that it seemed to seep into the very walls of the Vanguard. Ilara felt her blood run cold. What did it say? Prepare for extinction, Vance repeated, his voice trembling slightly. The words echoed in her mind. It was clear now. This wasn't just a war. The aliens weren't coming back for a conquest, they were coming back for total annihilation. Humanity had been too confident in its victory, too certain that the war had ended. But they had been wrong. We need to stop them before they reach Earth, Ilara said, standing up. If they can destroy us, they will. We can't let that happen. Kira stepped forward, her face filled with determination. But how? They're too strong. Ilara looked around at her crew, seeing the fear and uncertainty in their eyes. But she also saw something else, the spark of resilience. They had faced the unknown and survived. They could do it again. We're going to hit them where it hurts, she said, her voice filled with resolve. The ship's core, it's not just powering the vessel. It's the key to controlling the entire fleet. If we can get inside and shut it down, we might have a chance. Vance's eyes widened. You mean board it again? The ship is already fully awake. It's alive. If we go back there, we'll be walking straight into their trap. I know, Ilara said. But right now, it's our only shot. We know that the ship's core is connected to the fleet, and if we can disrupt it, we might be able to stop the invasion before it begins. This is our chance to strike first. Captain, Vance began, his voice shaky, I'm not sure we can do it. We don't even know where the core is located. The ship structure is unlike anything we've seen. We don't have time for uncertainty, Ilara snapped, her eyes hardening with determination. We'll figure it out as we go. Get the crew ready. We're going back. The crew scrambled into action, each of them doing their part to prepare for the dangerous mission ahead. Ilara's heart beat faster as she thought about what lay ahead. They were walking into the unknown, into the heart of the alien vessel, with no guarantee of success. But they had no choice. As the Vanguard pulled closer to the alien ship once more, Ilara stared out at the dark expanse of space. The vast fleet of alien ships loomed in the distance, waiting to crush humanity's fragile existence. The battle for their survival was about to get much harder. But she wouldn't give up. Not now. This is it, she whispered to herself. We fight for humanity's future. With a deep breath, she turned back toward the bridge and gave the order. Prepare for boarding, she said. The Vanguard surged forward, heading straight for the alien ship's dark heart. The crew was about to make their most dangerous move yet, and the fate of humanity rested in their hands. The Vanguard closed the distance to the alien vessel. Every member of the crew was tense, the weight of their mission bearing down on them like 1,000 tons of metal. Elara Hart stood tall at the front of the bridge, her eyes fixed on the screen. The alien ship loomed large before them, its jagged, imposing form casting a dark shadow across the Vanguard's hull. They were moving into the heart of enemy territory. "Captain," Vance's voice broke through the silence, "I'm picking up something on the external sensors." A sudden surge of energy, it's coming from the alien ship's core. It's like they're preparing for something big. Elara's stomach twisted. They're activating something. We need to move faster. Kira, get us into position for docking. Now. Lieutenant Kira's hands flew over the controls, expertly navigating the Vanguard closer to the alien ship. The docking clamps locked into place with a harsh clank, and a low hum reverberated throughout the ship. The crew exchanged uneasy glances, knowing that they were about to board an alien vessel that could hold the key to humanity's survival, or its extinction. "Boarding teams, get ready," Elara commanded, her voice steady despite the storm of thoughts raging in her mind. "We go in, find the core, and shut it down. We're the only ones who can stop this." The crew members moved quickly, their faces etched with resolve. They had already faced the unknown once, but this was different. This time, they were going into the heart of the enemy's strongest weapon. No one knew what awaited them inside the ship, but they couldn't afford to hesitate. The airlock opened, and the crew filed through, weapons in hand. Elara led the way, her senses on high alert. The alien vessel was eerie in its silence, its massive corridors stretching far beyond what the Vanguard's crew had expected. Every step they took seemed to echo louder in the hollow emptiness of the ship. There was no sign of life. No sounds. Nothing. Just the faint hum of the ship's systems. The deeper they went into the ship, the more it felt like the vessel was alive. The walls pulsed faintly, as if breathing in rhythm with their movements. The technology seemed to hum with its own energy, its foreign design intimidating, yet strangely organic. They passed through massive halls and twisting corridors that seemed to defy logic, leading them deeper into the ship's bowels. "Keep moving," Elara urged, her voice low but firm. Finally, they reached a massive chamber, its walls covered with glowing alien symbols. At the center of the room stood a large, pulsating core, an orb of dark energy surrounded by a complex network of cables, pipes, and alien machinery. The core was what controlled everything, the heart of the ship, and likely the key to controlling the entire fleet. Elara's heart raced as she stared at the glowing mass. "It's even bigger than we thought," Vance whispered, his eyes wide with awe and fear. Elara stepped forward, her mind focused. "We're here for one thing, to stop this." She turned to Vance. "Can you disable it?" Vance quickly assessed the situation, his brow furrowing. "I can try, but the core is protected by multiple layers of security. I'm not sure what kind of tech we're dealing with here. We'll have to figure it out as we go." Elara nodded. "Do whatever you can. We don't have much time." The sudden hum of energy grew louder, and the walls around them trembled. The ship was waking up again, this time, with a vengeance. The eerie voice from before echoed through the chamber. "Humanity has made its final mistake," it intoned, its tone cold and final. "You cannot stop what has already begun. The war was never truly lost. It was merely postponed." The crew froze. The voice was coming from everywhere, from the walls, from the ship itself. It wasn't just a warning. It was a declaration. As Vance worked quickly to hack into the alien systems, Elara watched the core's energy levels spike. The alien vessel's systems were awakening, reactivating in response to the crew's presence. She could feel the ship's presence pressing in on them, as though it were alive and aware of their every move. "Almost there," Vance shouted. "I'm bypassing the first layer of security." Suddenly, the room darkened, and the core's energy grew exponentially. The walls of the chamber began to shift, revealing hidden doors and weapons systems. The ship was reacting to the intrusion. The alien AI controlling the vessel was aware of them, and it was fighting back. "We've got company," Kira warned, her hand on her weapon. Alien drones began to emerge from the walls, their glowing eyes fixed on the crew. They moved with terrifying speed, and their weapons hummed with deadly intent. "Get to the core now," Ilara shouted. "Cover Vance while he works." A firefight broke out in the chamber as the crew opened fire on the drones, trying to hold them off. Ilara's heart pounded in her chest as she shot down one of the drones, her focus never leaving the core. The room shook violently as more drones flooded in, their weapons firing relentlessly. Vance's voice cut through the chaos. "I'm almost there. One more minute." Ilara nodded, determined. She fought back the fear creeping into her mind. They couldn't fail now. They couldn't let humanity's last hope be extinguished. With a final, desperate push, Vance hacked into the core's central system. A sudden, loud crack filled the air as the core's energy levels dropped, the violent hum of the alien ship beginning to die down. The drones paused, their systems glitching. The ship began to groan as its central systems faltered. "We did it!" Vance yelled. But before Ilara could respond, the room was filled with a deafening roar. The alien ship had not surrendered, it had detonated. The core had failed, but the ship was self-destructing. A countdown began, and the voice echoed one last time. "You have delayed the inevitable, but it will not end here. This is only the beginning." With no time left, Ilara shouted to her crew, "We need to get back to the Vanguard. Now." The countdown echoed in their ears as they sprinted back through the collapsing hulls of the ship, the alien vessel's systems falling apart around them. The self-destruction was inevitable, but they had won, for now. They made it back to the Vanguard just in time, the alien ship's final explosion lighting up the void in a brilliant burst of light. As the crew watched the flames of the alien ship consume the dark expanse, a grim realization settled over them. The war was far from over, but humanity had just earned its first real victory. And they would not go down without a fight.